And we're now live, I think.
How about that?
We are now live.
I got a live.
You got a live. Good evening and welcome to Broadsheet on the Telly. My name is John Preposterous Bryan. You're very welcome, Broadsheet readers, commenters, and outsiders, and trolls, lurkers, and what have you. Tonight, we have with us Vanessa Foran from Dublin, Stephen Garland, just back from Russia, or back a couple of weeks from Russia, from stem cell treatment. We'll have a chat with Stephen in a second. Neil Curran, who is the producer of the show. Hello, Neil.
That's why I have a pen. Hi, everyone. It's my producer pen. Producer sheets.
And Johnny Keenan from Kilkenny. Good evening, Johnny.
How are you, John? How are you going?
And live from Cork, Mr. Dan Boyle. Hello, Dan.
Hello. I'll give my Trump thumbs up.
Dan, the last time we spoke to you, you were in darkness. Many thought it wasn't. It may not have even been you.
It seems to follow me around. Sorry.
The last time we had you on, Dan, we were plugging your book, making up.
He's saving energy, John.
Exactly. Sadly, it's a light fitting that's gone, but I'm happy enough with the reaction it's been getting, John. It's very much a niche publication, but the people who have bought it have been kind enough to say that they've been enjoying it. So.
Well, I think it's going to be less niche this year because, or with this election in the offing.
Hopefully.
I mean, I think anybody who is not in the main parties needs to read it. You know,
hopefully it's got a few salutary lessons, all right.
Yeah, I think the number one lesson is never join either Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael.
Well, hopefully, if you want to get on with life and stay sane, anyway.
Dan, what's your view of what's happening this week? I mean, it seems like Fianna Fáil have made a go now, made a run for it. Are they
in terms of the plan and all the rest?
Well, no, with the vulture funds, I think that's quite a.
Yeah, look. I mean, legislation should exist to kind of direct where it could be sold to, but permanent TSB are in a wrong place to do this, and there's a large enough state stakeholding to stop it. So it's an ideological decision on the part of the government to let it go ahead. That said, I mean, I think there's still an opportunity to control the involvement of vulture funds in the housing market, because even with all the opportunities they've had to date, it's still only 4% of the ownership of the tenures. Now, that's a problem for the 4% whose tenures are owned by vulture funds, but I think legislation can still be introduced. In Cork, we had a situation where the vulture fund, with one particular complex, were doing this trick that's happening all over the country, where they say they're renovating the properties and they're probably giving it a quick lick of paint, and they try to decant the people who are already in the premises and try to sell them and rent them at higher values subsequently. That's especially where the law is falling down at the moment.
It's an ideological decision, you believe, rather than, I mean, Pascal Donoghue his hand wasn't forced here. I mean, this is a decision that they could sit down and change and make.
Yeah, he is to a certain extent, but you got to remember that there's at least 45. What's that? That's practically it's over a quarter of the membership of Dáil Éireann who are registered landlords. So when that kind of a block already exists, the incentive to create legislation in the first place, never mind have it debated and decided upon in Dáil Éireann, is already limited. I'd be in favour of a system that, with the declaration of interest, that the votes of people who are compromised would not be allowed to participate in the debate or to vote on them, because if they have a material economic interest, the legislation that would come out of it would obviously would be seen in one form or the other to their benefit. And again, that's another flaw in our system.
What I meant earlier about the Fianna Fáil making a go of it was this wouldn't be enough to bring down the government or anything like that. I mean, to pull an election.
Well, the election's not going to happen before the referendum, and the referendum will take us into the summer recess. But I'd look at September before a budget comes, and Fianna Fáil, apparently they're doing there's a Barry Cowan roadshow about to be planned over the next couple of weeks. I'm not too sure whether people will go for the discos or anything like that, but the intent of that is for Fianna Fáil to stake out a bit of ground for themselves, particularly on the housing issue, and to prepare the ground maybe to pull the plug in September, because it's not in Fianna Fáil's interest to allow the next budget to go through, because there's a potential for Fine Gael to be seen to be indulging in largesse that would prepare them for the next election. So I think the danger time, especially if there's going to be a presidential election, if someone contests the election against Michael D. Higgins, there's a likelihood that we might have a general election on the same date.
But do you think this is a big enough reason for them for Fianna Fáil to
well, look, Fianna Fáil have never been. They've never been worried about being seen to be consistent or logical or anything like that, the issue that they're picking, but they will go on the housing issue. They will try to make themselves to be the savior of renters or in affordability and things like that. And they'll ignore the irony. They'll ignore the hypocrisy. They'll just have a go at Fine Gael, and they'll hope that in an election campaign, the Fine Gael vote will dissipate somewhat, which I think it will. It'll probably go down by 5 or 6 points.
Yeah. Do you believe the polls at the moment, Dan?
Yeah, well, I think there's a kind of a Leo bounce that's delayed after the Francis Fitzgerald one, but Fine Gael will not win 38% or 40% of the vote in the general election. They might win 32 on a good day, and they might even gamble on that. That'll give them more seats than they have now. Basically, the contest is who finishes ahead, Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, in terms of the number of seats, and that's who gets to be in government the next time, rather than be the government, because the system we have now means that you have to have the approval of the opposition or the main opposition party to do anything in government. And I don't think that's going to change. It's either Fine Gael continuing as they are in a similar situation, or Fianna Fáil assuming the Fine Gael position.
But
the numbers will change slightly. There will be less smaller parties and there will be less independents.
The distressed mortgage holders thing has been going on for years. I mean, Bill Clinton, when he came over and for the global initiative,
it has. But the Irish figures are the court system. Yeah, the delays that are built into the Irish system that delay most decisions work in favour of a lot of people, even though there's high court costs. The Irish numbers in terms of people who are actually drummed out of their houses are quite low in European terms, and the length of time it takes to do it is quite poor. The problem is in tenure, and where we need the greater protections actually is we need some protections for house owners and house purchasers. There's no doubt about that. But where we have a huge gap in our law is protection for renters. We need the kind of German European system of longer leases and rent controls, and there doesn't seem to be any kind of mood in the Irish political system to bring them about.
Because of what you said about perhaps the makeup of Leinster House in terms of landlords and
the makeup and the kind of an Irish mindset that's still set in the 19th century in the land league. You know, what we have, we own, and no one is looking at the protection of people decreasing number of people who can't own and need to have a kind of a European system where they have safe rents. And I think that's a bigger issue than house ownership in the next number of decades.
I think Vanessa, I was going to ask you just on about credit union.
The question about PTSB, how did they let these loans go bad? Because if you look at Bank of Ireland, this industry, Dan, so I can speak with some very definite accuracy. Bank of Ireland went in and got all these distressed properties back in 2010, 2011, 2012. PTSB never did. And you ask anyone that works in my industry, what's PTSB on behalf of a client? What it's like to ring their insolvency unit, what it's like to ring their mortgage arrears unit. They'll tell you they're a basket case. Absolute basket case. So the real question is, how did Pete go so bad? Bailout 10 years ago and done nothing. Did nothing to stop the blood, the leaking. Did nothing to address their arrears, or other than send out automated letters. Bank of Ireland went and got all their properties back 5 years ago. Now the real question is about the whole idea of the purchaser of these debts. Okay. one thing that's coming back and forth from sell them, don't sell them, people should pay their mortgage, they're only bad debts anyway, all this talk of the whole week. Anyone that's commenting has actually dealt with an arrears support unit. They've never dealt with an arrears possession case.
Vanessa,
that I'm absolutely certain. Okay. The thing is, I do honestly think they are right in that I think whoever purchases secured debt should be regulated. No doubt about that. But with regard to this thing about people's homes and having to deal with vultures, I can absolutely tell you those families will be treated 10 times better than they've ever been treated by the Main Street banks that got bailed out. And you ask anyone in my industry, they will tell you they're 10 times more likely to offer a mortgage to rent solution. They're 10 times more likely to be actually rung or have their calls returned, or even be handled and with people who are qualified accountants, qualified QFAs at the end of the phone, and not a call centre out in Ballsbridge or a call centre out in Sandymount or Sandyford. So there's a lot of people doing an awful lot of talking about the whole thing. They know what it's like to deal with PTSD, what it's like to be a homeowner whose mortgage is in arrears, what it's like to actually go through the repossession process. Dan is right. It is very, very difficult to use a principal private residence in Ireland.
Say that again.
And the big issue, it is very difficult to repossess a residence in Ireland, a family home.
Yeah.
Okay, it's very difficult. But the biggest problem with it is it's different from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Each county register treats it differently. Each plaintiff bank manages it differently. So there's no consistency. There's no pattern. And I can tell you, I know of cases where execution orders were signed 10 years ago. They've never pushed them through. Or a possession order signed 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and the execution order has never been. So people are in properties with mortgages that they may not have paid anything for 10, 15 years. Okay, 15 years is an extreme, but 10 years would not be a shocking thing to hear.
10 years without paying a mortgage, without making any payments.
I have a case presented to me about just before Christmas where the possession order was signed in 2011. So for the possession order to have been signed, there must have been 3 years at least of appearances in front of the county registrar. Yeah. So that brings you back to 2008.
But realistically, Vanessa,
and that order has never been executed.
But realistically, how many are you suggesting are not distressed? Say 14,000 permanent TSB.
All these loans are 2 years, and you have to remember interest on arrears is much higher, so it escalates very quickly. The mortgage comes off track very quickly. So PTSB let this happen as well. So the real question is, how did PTSB do this? How were they allowed not manage their affairs once they got the bailout?
And
they've been handed credit union business for nothing as well. They've been giving them business.
What's the answer then, Vanessa?
Well, I think it's actually a question. Are PTSB up for sale? If they're dumping all these loans, is somebody looking to buy them? Is there bulge to buy PTSB, or is there an investment fund looking to buy PTSB?
Dan?
You ask anyone in my job, in my profession.
Yeah, well, I think that's a risk, all right. I mean, it's PTSB is emerging of one relatively soluble financial institution with one that was near bankrupt in 2008, 2009. But the state taking over the TSB franchise in the first place was somewhat dubious by legislation in the middle 90s because in effect the TSB bank was a glorified credit union and the state declared that they were the owners of it in making it a limited company in the first place, and then it went into its own debt situation and was merged with with the Irish Permanent. So I suppose that's by the way, because the shareholding is as it is at the moment. But I wouldn't know where Pascal, the Minister for Finance, sits on it at the moment. But they obviously want to get rid of as many shareholdings as they have in financial institutions at the moment. And the more they sell, the bigger the shareholding, the more money that comes in, the better the election forecast and what they spend that money on will be in the short term.
Johnny, Neil, or Stephen, any thoughts on this the permanent TSB thing, guys?
Not really. I'm actually living the nightmare of our housing crisis every single day. I'm living a bit of a Groundhog Day for the last 3-4 weeks. Cannot rent an apartment in Dublin, and it's driving me nuts. And I'm wondering about some of the places I'm looking at. That they strike exactly what Dan said there about like the vulture funds coming in and doing these apartments up. They're bought and then they're done up, and they're all they're exact same furniture, exact same really bad design sometimes, but they're brand new and the rents are really, really high. So we have the unfortunate situation that I've been in Russia, as you know, and I've just come back, and we don't have the magical kind of Facebook work contract, so it makes it very, very difficult. We can't get through anything. It's really, really tough out there. Every day, it's Groundhog Day. It's kind of frying. It's really, really. They give you a breakdown. And I'm down in Longford. We have to view houses. We have to view apartments from Longford. So every day is kind of and just getting a viewing is incredibly difficult. Yeah.
But Stephen, and you're also not well.
Yeah, not well. That's another revelation. I'm 2 months back from Russia.
Yeah.
I got my and the hair. I don't know if you could see.
It's growing back.
Like Jennings.
I have to say, Stephen, you look very, very well compared to the last time we spoke.
I feel great. I feel great, man. And I've done the impossible. I've stopped the unstoppable, which was I had no treatment, no cure. That's the medical profession. Entire medical profession will tell you that PPMS has no treatment, no cure. There's no drugs for it. There's no nothing for it. And suck it up, and you will eventually go down. It'll all go down and fall apart cognitively, and it's a very horrible kind of way to go. And that's where I was going, and I managed to go to Russia. I was shocked by what I seen from MRIs I did over there, and then I stopped the disease, and so.
And there's an infusion of stem cells or human growth hormones, is it?
Yeah, no, they basically take it's called autologous. So they're taking. This means that they're taking my own stem cells. There's a lot of different stem cell therapies out there. There's another one famously in Mel Gibson turned up on what's the guy's podcast? There's one in
Joe Rogan.
There you go. Joe Rogan very famously lately did a podcast of the guys they're in Panama, and they're doing umbilical stem cells. So what I did was my own, and the umbilical is still very, very new, but it's the real groundbreaker. It's the revolutionary thing. And so I did my own. They take my stem cells from my bone marrow, and I had one very hairy night. Well, no hair, but I had one fairly rough night, but it's the most amazing institution over there. Incredible. I've never seen a doctor so invested in his patients, and it's now there are four Irish in Pirogov in this moment, and because everybody's getting knows that we're going there. And we're all going, this is, if you want to do stem cell, go here, do it here, because this guy is incredible. And he has the best safety record in the world. It's in Russia, so the entire Irish medical industry will even go, oh, what are you going to Russia for? And you're kind of going, well, you're not fucking sorting anybody out. You're not sorting anybody out.
It's there's 4 Irish people there. Are they paying like the same as you at 35,000? Is it?
No, it's $50,000, and then so we kind of it ended up, it cost me about 65,000 because you've got a lot of flights in that, and you got you've got lots of accommodation. Valeska, my wife, came over and she stayed in accommodation. We kind of did it as cheap as you can, and but they're not making money out of it. You know, the guy is really. I've never seen them so invested. He's an incredible guy. I have a lot of video, and I'm still trying to decide what to do with it. And but you'll see it. And
60 grand though, yeah. And I mean, you could buy a house. I was going to say you could buy a house, but
you could buy a house in Longford.
Put a small down payment on
a barn in Longford. Yeah.
Before the rural development plan kicks in.
Oh yeah. Well, we were going to talk about that. Because, Stephen, I'm going to go back to
sure
you in a second. Dan and Neil and we've all read the Project Ireland 2040 document.
The work of science fiction.
But Dan, you have.
I haven't read it. I live it.
You live, but Dan, you read it, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I suppose I read the spin document anyway. I mean, there's so many parallel documents at the moment. It's a bit sad. It's a missed opportunity, obviously, but it's a strange combination of projects that are up and running and a wish list that will never happen. I happen to think that Martin is probably right. It is structured in a way that it's an election manifesto for an election that's probably going to happen in the next 6 months or so. But planning is a good thing to do, and looking 5, 10, 15 years down the road is a good thing to do. We're just crap at it in this country. And as soon as people mention the type of things we need to be doing in terms of a spatial policy, well-distributed population, equality at the root of a lot of our social and economic policies, someone from some part of the country who aren't earning the share of the cake that they think they should be pipes up, and the whole thing gets rewritten or worded in such a way that they're placated. And there's nothing new in that, that as you pointed out,
special interest.
Indeed, yeah.
I mean, as you pointed out in the column, he's no T.K. Whitaker, Leo Varadkar. I mean, the plans, they're not very. There's not great deal of vision or ambition even.
No, but I suppose that's Leo all out. I mean, Leo is the guy who is all style and no substance. He doesn't want to rock boats. He sets up units that tries to get the temperature of where he thinks people are at, and he tries to structure his message such as it is to say the things that people want to hear. And if the sad thing is that new politics should allow them to do something other than that. But Leo wants to be kind of a modern day De Valera, looking into his heart and instinctively knowing what Ireland is, and knowing what Ireland needs is Fine Gael, with him leading it. And if you're sincere about the type of politics that will exist in 2040, you shouldn't think of yourself as part of the script. You should be trying to plan for infrastructure and social needs that can be delivered in a more devolved way, and in a more dispersed way, and in a more equal way. And I don't think that Leo's capable of doing that.
My theory is that the spin unit just had very little to do, and just sort of gathered up all these ideas, put it under a banner, and
maybe
they're kind of obvious as well. No,
I wonder, because I like all I've read or heard is the spin and the sound bites and stuff. It sounds like it was all little ideas, all different departments had, or when the spin unit members were working for other ministers, and they just all brought them together and copied and pasted them all in.
Yeah,
I know it's 20 years ahead. I know Stashi's long term, but I think they should be doing it more shorter term, 5, 10 years, because you could actually then know it's going to start and finish. Whereas 20, 30 years down the line, you just know it's a.
I think don't they want to?
Press gate.
They want to say that like, if you elect us for the next 40 years or 20 years, we'll deliver things.
Yeah, but what they've done there is. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, Johnny, you're perfect.
All right, sorry. What they've done there already, as the Shinner said in Leaders' Questions, which Leo is a master in avoiding, just like he's master in McKinney. Does not answer the questions and leaders' questions. It's hilarious to watch him. But like they basically have plans already, and as Vanessa said, they've cut and pasted all these plans and made it one big national plan over a 20-year period. So let them off with it, because at least they're talking about rural Ireland for a change, which is great. And then everyone knows that it's possibly a manifesto trick, and so just take it as it is, and then say thanks, Leo. We'll take it from here. You know, it's no big problem. You can't really knock anyone who's coming up with ideas for rural Ireland, because we're starved, and at least we're getting the media attention that we deserve now. And there will be investment in places like Athlone, which is the centre of Ireland. And if you look at any other civilised country, that's where the main source of investment usually is. So Dublin has plenty now. So all we need is a little bit of investment in the Midlands, because it's very sparse.
It's like Birmingham. Everything should be.
Yeah. But Birmingham was the workshop of the world, like, you know. So why not Offaly to follow in the footsteps?
But Johnny, you don't live in Offaly.
I know, but my heart is there. I'm trying to convince my wife to move back. No, but on a serious note, and it is controversial. But if you actually look at the growing of hemp as a plant and going back to an eco-environmental space, which is a massive industry in itself, that is massive all over the world. So if we were really serious about moving forward, you know, why not in the middle of the bog where there is nothing, there's growth amongst horticulture, and that's a massive industry in itself. That's all I'll say about it. I got that plan in, but I didn't get an email back. But you know.
They missed that one in the 2040 plan, Johnny.
Hopefully when the Greens get in, you won't forget, Dan, what I was saying.
We had an earmark for wind turbines, actually.
That's the best spot for them.
Well, we don't have enough hot air, unfortunately. Unless Barry Cowan does go on his tour, you know, and starts blowing it up. We'll see.
Vanessa, we're still dealing with
Fianna Fáil, Hustings.
Vanessa, we're still dealing with a bit of delay on your connection. It sounds like you've had a drink, but you know,
it sounds like you've had a couple of drinks. You might need to reboot your router.
Ooh.
I saw that on the internet.
How do I do that, guys? Just log out, is it?
Without sounding like I'm being smart, turn it off. Turn off your router and turn it back on.
Oh, the internet.
Yeah, the internet.
Okay,
box.
I'll do that. Okay,
Leave
I'll
it off for 30 seconds.
Just yours.
All right, I log out and leave you to it. You can talk about me now.
Yeah.
I thought the most. Can I offer something?
Please, Stephen.
I thought for me the most shocking thing about I've been living in Spain for a lot of years. Down to Sligo, I take the train up and down to Longford, that Sligo line. It is a joke, and to even think it takes 40 minutes to get from Connolly to Maynooth, and that has been the same. I'm 45 years old. I've been using that line since I was 15, going up to buy records in Dublin, and it hasn't changed. They've changed a bit of the stock, very little. They've called one of them a commuter train, and you know, somehow Longford is supposedly a commuter town. There are really a lot of people were getting off. Came back on a Thursday or Friday, and on that kind of 7 o'clock in the evening. A lot of people getting out in Mullingar, so people are using it and people want to use it. But for God's sake, I mean, 2 hours to get from Dublin to Mullingar on a train, and you have to wait. At times you wait because there's only one line. At times you wait for 10 minutes for the other train, you know, for the train to pass you, because on that double line station. So that is a joke, and that is that, you know, 2040, they never even mentioned trains. They talked about the real kind of spin stuff, the Metro North, the stuff in Dublin, the 4 extra Lewis lines, because somehow people know what a Lewis is at this stage. But for God's sake, we needed, every country has a train system. Any country, and he called it the best little country in the world. You know, it reminded me of a certain Bill Clinton. who made one of the most laughable suggestions, or when our Bertie Ahern had Bill Clinton in the Guinness storehouse having a pint of Guinness. I'll never forget him saying, "Welcome, Bill, to the Liberties, the heart of Dublin, the greatest city in the world." You're kind of thinking, man, this dude has San Francisco, New York, and a bunch of kind of pretty good cities, and you're pitching Dublin as the Libos as the center of the greatest city in the world, and that was how many years ago? So I don't see if you can't build a train system, then the rest of it is nonsense, you know.
Well, Dan pointed out a few weeks ago, it was Todd Andrews who dismantled our railway system.
Yeah, we used to have the most per mile. We had the most heavily networked country in the world, and they all started to close from the 40s, 50s, 60s onwards. I think the point Stephen's making is well made. I mean, our system is now a radial system in and out of Dublin to various points around the island. We should have connecting lines, you know. We should have orbital lines. We should have Mullingar to Galway. We should have that's the way we should be thinking, but we don't.
Neil,
just on a kind of micro level, when you look at Dublin, the whole College Green nuclear explosion highlights how city planning has revolved around everything converging in the city and then shooting out again. And then when you have a tram that's 10 meters long, it highlights. It brings the whole system to its knees, and like just with the 2040 plan, like you know, you got to think big picture. You know, the M50 being another example where you know, the pace of use was growing at such a rate, and then by the time that the extra lane was added to the motorway, it kind of it didn't make that much of a difference in the long term, and now there's no further expansion that can be made to the M50, and there isn't any thought being considered to how do we develop this further, other than we might put congestion charges along it, which in turn is just going to divert the traffic to, you know, roads that the M50 was originally designed to take traffic away from. So, you know, the 2040 thing is great, because by the time anyone has to look at the results that were delivered, the politicians will be living on their lovely salaries, lovely pensions.
It's perfect.
On Green Party Nua potentially will be running the country with their wind farms underneath their tower in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, safe from all of us peasants.
I think
Atlantis will be the new capital.
There you go.
Do you think, Neil, and the panel, this spin thing is just it's going to be their undoing? I mean, you know, they launched project.
Is it though? I mean, look at how clever the whole thing is. I mean, when you add up, when you see how, say, the likes of Leo and Simon handled some issues quite well in terms of Brexit, and then you have this 2040 thing, which I don't think anyone, you know, came out all smiles, opening the champagne, saying this is great. You know, so, you know, they're juggling both sides of the sword. That's not even an expression, but they're juggling. You know, they're juggling both arms of doing good stuff with the bad stuff, and they'll get away with it.
Well, Dan, I and the panel, I felt this week that they really, the lurch to the right was really quite marked, and they were now sort of, you know, they felt happy to be just anti-welfare, and you know, I mean, this week seemed to all come together. They had Project 2040.
Yeah, well, that's what happens with Fine Gael in government. I mean, it was an accident the last time that Enda managed to hang on, but it's no accident that Fine Gael have never, in successive Dáils, managed to re-elect themselves or have themselves re-elected as a government. And what happens is that I don't know. I've said this story in public. Years ago, there was a general election on, and someone knocked on John Gormley's door. He was a member of the Greens, but he wasn't a candidate or a TD at the time. And it was two Fine Gael canvassers. And John just confronted them, and he said, "Well, can you tell me what the difference between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael is?" And there was a few seconds of silence, after which the Fine Gael canvasser said, "I think you'll find in Fine Gael there's a better class of person." And that kind of hubris is very much prevalent in Fine Gael. And when they're in government, they get to a stage where they start practicing what they actually believe, and then they start going back downhill again. And I think that's likely to happen with this government. The there's a lot of artificiality with the opinion poll ratings at the moment. That they'll eventually settle down to their late 20s, which is their natural level of support.
Yeah, would it have been much different under Simon Coveney? Although I do think that Coveney represents a kind of a One Nation Tory version of Fine Gael than Leo Varadkar, which seems to be...
Well, the two-hand that they're playing at the moment, for instance, on the referendum, I don't think you would have seen, in fairness to Leo, I don't think you would have seen progress on the referendum under Simon. If there's a dichotomy, and I think Simon is on the wrong side of it, it's between urban Fine Gael and rural Fine Gael. If you're looking for an alternative Fine Gael, it's probably, and we've seen it with the 2040 plan, it's the position of people like Michael Ring, whoever inarticulately say what they're saying, are actually saying what a lot of people in Fine Gael actually believe.
Yeah. Well, I certainly think the gloves are off with Fine Gael. I mean, we see them now. I have to say, we get trolled enormously by Fine Gael shills or whatever. Yeah. So they're obviously in election or in sort of campaigning mood. I'd like to say hello to Mark Baldwin.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, all right, cool. Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey.
Hey, Mark.
Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Johnny A. Hi. What's Stop's name?
What's whose?
Stephen.
He said
that's Stephen.
Stop. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right.
That's Stop. PPM. What is that, Stephen?
Stop my PPMS.
Yeah, stop my PPMS.
Okay.
Mark.
Your given name was it?
Mark.
Yeah.
Your cartoon, your animated family sitcom, Ends Meet, premiered last week on RTE.
It did, yeah. As late as you can imagine, about 11:30 on a Monday.
Why did they give you that excellent time slot?
I think Handmaid's Tale was on, and that's a very popular show. And they thought people wanted to maybe go to bed with something a little lighter, maybe.
Handmaid's Tale.
It's quite
but the little like coming up next, Ends Meet came up at like the worst scene in one of the episodes. Like, I'd rather they just didn't do it instead, to be honest.
Yeah, it's the kind of show though that it doesn't really need a time slot as such. I mean, it'll be picked up on YouTube, or not YouTube, but the player and whatnot.
Yeah. Hopefully people will just watch it the next day or whenever they want.
Mark,
I think that's when most people watch stuff.
Mark, will you describe Ends Meet and the family behind that are central to it?
Well, I kind of meant to be this kind of animated sitcom, but I see it as an animated kitchen sink drama, and it follows a lad called Beezer. He's about early 20s, and he got he had a baby just before his leaving cert, and he's raising this kid called Sean Oak, and they both live with in Beezer's granddad Tony's house, and they're all in various levels of social welfare, single parent, retirement or pension, and then child benefit. And I just trying to make them as real as possible, but also it's a cartoon, so it's not that real. But I think cartoon kind of take the edge off the kind of of it all. Like, but it's good. Yeah.
I think it's it's like describing food, but it really is. Much. Vanessa, you saw the first one. You were impressed.
Yeah, I did. I liked it. I just thought there was some. Well, Neil called it attention to detail. I called it quirky. But the way you had the paving stones outside the house cracked slightly, those things are very totally expected to see in that type of setting, but you wouldn't see it in an animation. It was lovely. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, I love seeing kind of just Irish type just kind of drawn, because it's like, even with cracks, it's more appealing or endearing than if it was just a really cracky.
Well, but you're more connected then, because it's not like Marge Simpson with the big blue hair. You actually say Jesus, that's like my front.
Yeah, no,
Like
I
the
mean,
little potholes. And
Mark, it could be really huge. I mean, I've got a funny feeling about it. I mean, it's really good, and the quality, because
Great things about it being set in Ireland is that
is that me now this time?
We'll never know.
and just
Let's
taking a
invent
little
an
screen
ending.
grab.
We missed
And,
that, Mark. You went.
Oh,
you
did I
went
disappear
dead.
there?
You disappeared. So you're just about
Alright.
to say what the great thing about Ireland,
Sorry.
setting in Ireland.
We invented it for you.
Oh yeah, was that when I have to give direction to the background artist, I just went on Google Maps.
Mark,
Street view, go to places that I was in my head.
Mark,
Writing it.
Mark,
Send
are
a
you in
screen grab.
Kilkenny?
And,
Mark, are you high?
Stir up.
Mark, you're breaking up very badly there.
Am I
Very bad.
flapping now?
Mark,
Where's our producer?
Mark, maybe switch on and switch on.
King of
Just
the
going to wave my magic wand.
Where are you based, Mark?
No, he's going to come back.
He's gone. He's gone.
Jesus.
Where's the animation based? Where are the family?
Oh,
I think
they're
it's
done.
Northside
Dubs.
Dubs.
Okay,
Yeah,
the
they're
Dubs.
done. And
Another one, Johnny. You know?
Who's the
They're
who's that
taking
there
over.
now?
It's a growing town. I'm telling you.
The
It's big soon enough.
it's
Sorry,
quite,
who's that? Oh, this is getting weird. This is getting very weird.
it's two Marks now.
I think
hard.
if I was drinking, I'd be.
Stephen,
Yeah.
just before we go back to Mark, how long were you in Russia for the treatment?
So I did straight 30 days hospitalization. So quite hardcore, a lot of chemo, a lot of just basically taking drugs for 30 days. And they took out my stem cells, they put them back, and they freeze them, and then they put them back. And then you're they always like to use the computer analogy. It's like rebooting your system. So for a while you have zero immunity, and that's the kind of danger period. But I kind of was very focused to do it because it's a very straightforward thing, and you've no choice.
And the stem cells offset the chemo, the effect of the chemo as well.
Yeah, well, you have to recover from chemo. So this is it. I'm only 2 months out, and I'm doing really well, and I managed to avoid the flu. I came back, I was having a nightmare. I've been kind of living a zombie movie, without the ability to shoot the infected outside, because the biggest fear is you've got a completely compromised immunity system, and this place is riddled with flu and bugs and all this kind of thing. So that's the dangers. And I've managed, I've never heard of the phrase peak flu before, but it exists here in Ireland. And the sense, and this is something that's kind of struck me. I was over 20 years out of Ireland, and the sensationalism of everything in Ireland, I don't remember it like this, and it's shocking to me. The media is pathetic. It's like with the weather reports, everything is a drama, and the emphatic language of every headline is like everything is clickbait. And
Killer snowstorms.
Stephen,
yeah.
Can I just ask you, when we last spoke, you didn't look well at all. You were prone, lying down.
Well, I'm lying down again, but
you were half the weight you are now, and
yeah, a little bit of that might still be steroids. A lot of steroids involved, right. And I feel good, man. And that's it. It's like I've got a new lease of life, but it's really working out. I've had real immediate, and you're not supposed to. You're supposed to assess these things in a 12-month period. And really, it's over. It has different markers I have to get through: 2 months and then 3 months, which is oddly timing exactly on Paddy's weekend when I will go to Kilkenny to join Johnny for a thing. But it's like, You know, I have to get past these markers, 6 months and then a year, and I have to get an MRI after 3 months. And I asked for it in Ireland, and they told me it'll take 15 months. So I said, okay, well, how much is it going to cost privately? 950 euros. So it's you know, the kind of it's still a difficult situation. I mean, you know what I mean. But the thing is,
Stephen, if you hadn't had the stem cells and the chemo, then would you have just been declining like when we saw you? Would you have been worse now?
Yeah, I've got primary progressive is very slow. And it took me 5 years for me to be walking with a stick. And it took me, you know, from my range of walking has been decreasing over 5 years through living in Brazil and these different places. And but you've been decreasing. And it's like, you know, it goes right the way down. I mean, the last couple of people in Ireland to request assisted suicide, these people like Marie Fleming and you know, and there was another lady just recently, I don't know her name, I forget her name. She appeared in Ray Darcy's thing on Saturday night once upon a time in an absolute car crash of an interview. And anyway, so but she was another one. She was the last one that I know that was requesting assisted suicides, you know. And but they're all PPMS characters, because what happens is it's neurological, so you start to implode in your entire body, and so you start to lose. Once you start to lose things like swallow, you're not unable to swallow food and things like that, and then speech can go, and you just slowly implode, and that's you go from. I got basically. I see the guy showed me an MRI over in Russia, and he's not a neurologist; he's a hematologist, and so he said, look at this is non-FDA approved treatment, and so and I'm going, well, why is it non-FDA approved? Because it doesn't sell drugs. Every one of the people who come back from doing HSCT, they're not taking drugs anymore. And there's 7,000 people with MS in Ireland, and every one of them, it's possible to, if you've got different types, there's 4 types of MS, so it's possible that you can manage remitting, relapsing, or MS, and you can those relapsing types, you can manage them with very expensive injections. But you're not well, you're taking an injection literally every day or every second day, and those injections cost thousands of euros. So the dude, Dr. Fedorenko in Russia, he you know, his thing is, this is big pharma. They're selling drugs, and they have a drug called Ocre, which is this is the landmark drug. It appears in one of these kind of clickbait things every now and again. They've never had a treatment for PPMS, so then suddenly they have a treatment for PPMS called Ocremazepam. I forget what it is. You can never pronounce anything in medicine, and so that's the one that they're selling now. But it doesn't, and it's really mad. It's like an unquantifiable effect drug. So everybody's told, all the sufferers are told that this may reduce your progression by 20%. And it will only do it in 20% of patients, but try it. I mean, how that is the most ridiculous thing.
Thousands.
What is that percentage? What is the eventual percentage then? It's like,
what is but then nobody really notices anything. It's a complete placebo if anybody thinks that it's working for them. Do you know? And it's an unbelievable kind of scam almost. Yeah. And so this is Ocre. It's the only thing that neurologists, the neurological industry in Ireland or anywhere in Europe will offer, and it's only got its license in Europe, you know, because it takes so long to get through the FDA, and then it has to go over to Europe and go through Europe's kind of licensing, and then by the time and I was put on a list for this 2 years ago. And but by the time you get these drugs, you know, you'd be in a wheelchair, and it's not, and then you know that it's only going to do 20%. that there's Facebook groups. Most of this kind of MS world, the people, the suffering, kind of they exist on Facebook within Facebook groups and things like okra and stuff. And I find it sometimes it's quite. It's not funny. It's tragic. It's all of the things, and but it is quite like it's unusual to follow people on okra. Some of them are. They're mainly in America. That's where it got through the system first. So there's kind of more people there who've been doing it for longer. And honestly, on reading what they're posting, it's almost like a complete placebo. And none of them are really have any scientific, because they mightn't be in the 20% that may be reducing their progression by 20%. How nuts is that?
Are they expensive, the okra?
Oh, too right they are, of course.
Yeah. You said they're a few thousand, are they?
Oh yeah, thousands of dollars in America, and I think it's 100,000 a year that a PPMS person would be. It would cost them to do okra for a year. I mean, it's nuts, and those are the chances. And I read those posts and nobody talks about stem cell therapy. You know, that's the only thing that people should. That's where all the R&D should be gone into. Like the dudes over in Panama. Watch Joe Rogan, that podcast with Gibson. I mean, this is real, and they're all the big pharma are just blocking. They don't want to hear about stem cell therapy.
Yeah, it's all about money.
It's all about money, and it's shocking that people are dying. There was another girl. I don't know the site. Beauty, BUAUT. .ie.
Oh yeah, Beauty. Yeah, Beauty.
Yeah. I mean, that lady died, man. Only 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, or whatever. And she's only 46. MS, and not sure what MS she had, but I presume it was PPMS, because it's the only one that, when it gets aggressive, that will take out a 46-year-old. And so that's what I'm saying. There's now there will be more and more Irish will all be going there. This HSCT can be performed in St. Vincent's. They do it on kids, leukemia. It's just non-FDA approved, and Irish medicine doesn't do anything that is not approved by the FDA. Simple as.
So the Americans, if they say it's good, so this okra then, is that going to be on sale in Ireland, or is it going to be available rather?
And when eventually it is, I don't know. But I was on a kind of they call it a compassionate a list or something, that you get it a bit quicker than whatever. And so I was with a good neurologist in Ireland, Tim Lynch, and in the matter, and I liked him. He never knocked HSCT. A lot of the neurologists, they just knock it. I was with one of the top guys in Spain, in Barcelona, and he actually was referred. Well, somebody told me he's number 6 in the world.
Oh, I remember that story. Yeah.
And so he was totally anti-HSCT and anti-Russia. So
he was the other side then.
Yeah, totally. You know. And bought in as and to me, they're like salesmen when it gets to a certain level of pushing a drug. You know what I mean, as being the answer, and the answer costs an awful lot of money, and but it's the only hope you have.
I must say, perhaps Dan can back me up in this, that Ireland we seem particularly deferential to big pharma. I mean, we pay the most of any country, I think, in Europe for prescription drugs, and the factories are only down the road.
Yeah. Cork Harbour is destroyed with those factories.
Dan, what's the story there?
Well, yeah, I suppose they were encouraged to come in the late 70s, early 80s on a nod and a wink, in the sense that the harbour was meant to be a receptacle for whatever their byproducts were, but it has improved. But strangely enough, the pharmaceutical companies in Cork, if you take Pfizer's, Schering-Plough, Eli Lilly, they're not making the type of drugs that Stephen needs. They're making lifestyle drugs. You know, they're making Viagra. They're making Prozac.
Nipple cream. I heard all the nipple cream in Europe is made up in Fairhill or something.
Well, I'll try and pick up a jar.
What is
Give it to Neil. Give it
What
to
is
Neil.
nipple cream, Vanessa?
For
Please.
breastfeeding.
For
Dan will-
breastfeeding. Okay.
Yeah, your nipples will be. Neil will tell you there when they bleed and everything.
I
Okay.
think, Dan, because of our our foreign direct investment thing, we really do bend over backwards. I mean, I know the
Sorry, Neil was there.
Speaking
It's a
of
different type
speaking,
of cream, I think. Yeah, sure.
speaking of things to rub on my nipples, I've been noticing Mark has been back on, and he's
Yeah,
his
back.
connection
Let's
seems
hear
to be
about it.
solid again. So we should maybe get
of course
talk to the man.
Sure.
Am I live?
You are.
you are, but
Am I alive?
Oh, dear.
your green screen is no longer an interesting green
Yeah.
screen. It's simply green.
I just thought maybe that was what was cutting it out. So it's just back to. I got this in Eason's, by the way, it's €4 as a party tablecloth for a party, and this other Photoshop said it would be 80 quid for a green screen. Don't listen to him.
So
Good
just
man,
get a
guys.
green
Very-
tablecloth.
Thanks for that.
Where you
Yeah,
got them?
that's all it is.
Mark,
Yeah.
we knew you on Broadsheet when you were nobody, right? You were like,
I think I'm still nobody, but yeah, back in the day.
Oh, you're
These are the first
mainstream
to give us
now.
the shit.
Mark. You're on RT now.
but
You're mainstream.
I have to say, I think you could be a genius. Your news
Could be.
you could well be your new your news thing was just the news headlines was just hilarious.
Yeah. I did that news thing with my ill-fitting suit for a while. That was fun.
Not wildly
Um,
popular.
And the what?
Not wildly popular.
Not wildly popular. No, they kind of the trolls chased me out of town, to be honest. And I just, but it's a persona, so it's not really you. So I was just like, "Hey, you've won. I'll just do kind of news where I'm letting them all win," which is kind of funny. It's something you'll never see. Like, Trump's never going to go like, "Oh, here, I've had it with all these bad messages. I'm quitting." Like, it's just funny. It'd be
You
funny
leather
if
jacket guy? Are you leather jacket guy?
I'm not leather jacket guy. No.
But speaking of leather jacket guy, Jack Neil was telling me about Jacksepticeye.
Oh yeah, the YouTuber guy.
Has made 2.4 million last year. So just
But you look at the money. Where'd you?
That's insane.
Checks
I don't
in
know
the
how that
post.
works.
yeah.
I don't know how that works at all.
John, did
They're
you?
not laughing now.
I know we're all going on a cruise in September with our YouTube money.
But Mark, now do you get syndicated every time the cartoon appears? Do you?
I think
Get
so.
rich.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just focusing week by week, just getting them out there. But no, we'll push abroad after this. We'll see how it goes. Like,
Do you think it'll travel
just-
with the accents and the dubious
I don't
morals?
know. I don't know. But Alison Spittl's show was on BBC Three, and The Young Affairs was on BBC Three, and they've got some strong accents in them. So
Yeah.
who knows?
Rubber bandits, they travel quite well, don't they?
Mark,
What?
how far could you go, like in terms of it being quirky and surreal? Did they weren't up? For
Oh,
that?
there is one episode. It's called The Void. That will probably be maybe in 6 or 7 weeks. That is, it's very kind of cerebral. Kind of, he takes these sleeping tablets that are out of date and starts having a trip where he's confronted with his ego. And we got really. That was the one that was the most concern with RTA, but we got there in the end and we got it out, and it's a proper head melter. So I'm happy with that one.
Amazing. It's
That'll be fun when that one comes out. It'll be interesting to see what people think when that one comes out.
Is this the first type of cartoon that ROT have done of this type?
Well, they did Langerland as well, but that wasn't really story focused. But yeah, I think maybe, I don't know. But it's most of the Irish stuff that's made here, is the great stuff, is all for abroad, or all the kid stuff. So it's nice that we finally do one there's
The grown-ups.
F words in, and there's just some ideas, bigger ideas in it.
Yeah. Well, it's a gripping soap as well. Like there's a
Yeah,
plot. It's kind of
yeah. I think it's one of my other inspirations was Only Fields and Horses, because it had that kind of just
Dynamic.
dynamic, yeah, and it could be told, like a lot was told about them, but it wasn't like saying, "Oh, we have to do this and that," but this is wrong. It was just, no, this is just what you have to do. Like you have to go out and hustle every day, or you have to like do all these things. So that was a big one. And also with that, it's like here, I didn't grow up in the East End of London. I don't know what these slang terms are, but I know what they mean when they say it.
Yeah,
By the way, the placement of the word. So I'm hoping that people will kind of figure out what is really being said. And a lot of it's not really Dublin slang. It's just, it could be very much just what me and my family say, or like me and my friends say. I don't know if it's this encapsulating North Dublin kind of thing. It's just funny words said in a funny way.
Can I give you something that I thought was a bit weird in it?
Go on.
From my point of view, the three lads with a big fancy tablecloth in the kitchen.
That would have been Tony. Tony's very he's
Camp,
like a widow. Yeah, he's the old guy. He would have been a kind of widower, so he's very kind of house proud.
I think the only fool's makeup, the old guy, the young sort of dumb guy, and then the kind of slightly smarter. I think even Graham Linehan said that Father Ted was an
yeah.
They adapted that. It's like three men of different ages stuck with each other.
Yeah, and like the father figure, or like the unwanted father. That actually makes sense.
Yeah, the father.
Have I nicked it? Have I nicked it again?
I think it's
no. I definitely think it's all yours.
It's a trope. I don't know. It's a.
I guess so. Yeah, I think when you're talking about men, they usually are like, up and at it and past it. And I don't know. Maybe still excited about life, giving up on life, and then undecided.
And but I sent them the RT player today. With the first two episodes, nobody watched it except Vanessa. She only watched the first episode.
Yeah, no, Mark, you're selling it very well there. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, totally check it out.
I sent it to you a few hours ago. So.
Yeah, I know, but John, I told you I was in promo mood. I've no tickets sold for my gig Monday night, but that's enough about me, Mark. Just can I ask you where did you come from in relation to animation? No, but animation. Were you in Ballyfermot or?
I was in IDT for a year.
Yeah. So and how do you find the industry in Ireland? Like, because
I have never worked in a studio before Ends-Meet. I just made stuff for myself. So I never graduated. So I never I was never hired by any of the studios here. So I just kept writing, and then but yeah.
Like all great artists, you did it yourself. Enough belief in yourself. So kind of, you're fairly proud then.
But Zuckerberg didn't graduate either. Sure, he didn't.
Lily's went into Harvard though.
Sure.
Oh, Neil. Sorry, Neil. Oh,
yeah.
But will you have them in Dublin jerseys at some point, or will you have the bunting outside the house?
I would love that. We actually said that it can't be like brands, so it's kind of hard to. There's a lot of kind of legal stuff like that, but
you could have a tricolour. You could have the Dublin colour. Yeah,
tricolour, yeah.
No, they have them like checker flag.
Yeah.
Whatever
that would be
called.
good.
Yeah.
If we had gotten to the World Cup, I would have gone straight and just made it myself. One episode after every Ireland match.
No, I live here in Crumlin, and you can hear the they've done well. You can hear the shouting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can picture the bunting outside the house. All right.
Yeah. No, I'd love to do that. We need to get into another World Cup pretty soon. I'm getting tired of this.
The Cricket World Cup.
Is that still going? We were really good for about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then everyone jumped off the bandwagon.
Yeah, but I mean, the Does will do it again this year probably. So you have an opportunity to do the pot belly, and the Dublin jersey.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Well,
there's I'm living in North Strand now, so it's always.
Oh, so you're right in the heart of it then.
Yeah, you can hear it out the window.
Yeah.
But there's about a 2-second delay. So
Mark,
A bit like us here.
Mark,
yes.
Fantastic to see you and to finally meet you. If you want to stay with us, we're here till 11, or we're here till 12. But if you want to bugger off now, please be our.
No, I'll
guest.
stay with you. I'm just gonna go to the toilet, so I'm gonna put the feet.
Nice one, Mark. Cheers, son.
Anybody else want to go to the bathroom?
Oh, we can't go, Mark.
Just turn your microphones off. Turn your microphones off.
Okay.
There was something else on the. Oh yeah, the broadband situation in Ireland.
It's shit tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There must be something going on because mine
Well,
is
it's
normally
cold.
pretty steady.
When it's minus degrees, or it's not minus, but when it's cold, the broadband is affected, no?
Well, we're talking about.
I blame the Greens. You can blame
We're
them.
talking about the railway
Why
network.
not? Why not?
The train network, and somebody on the site suggested using the rail network for the fiber optics to the existing, which Dan mentioned is so like it's got its veins all through Ireland that
They go nowhere.
40 minutes to Maynooth.
You have to Cork to Dublin is me a Limerick.
the actual original rail map, the one that Dan was referring to, saying
They're largely gone, though. No, like I mean, around here, you can see all those old lines, and I was on a friend's farm literally in the last couple of weeks, and he kind of took me out, and he's got the whole thing is there, like the raised mound of earth that was carrying the tracks, and it's all the stops, all the stations are still there, like they're in a converted they're converted into houses now and stuff, but you can see that whole network is still there, but that could never be
Rebuilt.
it could never be transferred.
But it probably could, but pushing rolling stock on it anyway wouldn't happen.
No.
But, yeah.
Vanessa, I was very impressed that you kept your cool when Dan mentioned described permanent TSB as a glorified credit union.
Well, they're trying to give PTSB the credit union business. That's why they're trying to shut down credit unions and just to give them to PTSB to keep them going. This is my thing about everyone's talking about the vulture fund and the selling the mortgages, but nobody's asking questions of PTSB. How come they were given a bailout? They were given extra business by being handed a few credit unions, and they still can't get it together.
Dan, answer the question. What happened? Why were PTSB given preference? Why were they let off the hook? Dan? No.
Well, Dan is in his pose. He's in his...
Dan, your silence speaks volumes, Dan.
Is this his IMBD pose?
Neil?
It's like Fianna Fáil coalition all over again.
No, we're losing everybody tonight. Neil?
Do you know, we must ask Dan if he comes back about the poll numbers because but Derek isn't here to shout us down, so we could get Dan's opinion. It'll be.
No. Actually, I have an apology to make to Derek and to Vanessa. Firstly, to Derek, we had a running joke on the show that Derek was like a no-show. But it was really because I said, "Look, just come on whenever you can. Come on to this Thursday." And if he was going to come on. But anyway, so we just want to say that Derek is incredibly reliable, and he's not a no-show at all. And I want to say sorry to Vanessa because it sounds like I wouldn't let you speak last week properly. So I'm sorry.
You're going to say sorry every week, John?
Yeah. To you every week. I will if I mess up every week. But
I don't need your apologies. I have no problem.
Oh, okay.
No problem dealing with Mr. Mooney.
Johnny, we have the Bill Hicks tribute next Monday night at the Grand Social.
Who's doing that? Who's doing the Bill Hicks?
Me, well, the Laughing Stock Comedy Club, which is one of my organizations. It's up there with my IMF. not the International Monetary Fund. It's I'm Moving Forward, but that's another gig. The Laughing Stock Comedy Club. We've been doing it for the last 5 years. So the first 2 years we're in Kilkenny, where I'm living and I love. And so we peaked last year. We brought it to Dublin and the Grand Social.
I was that nice.
Yeah, Steve was on the panel with the esteemed Eno Doherty, independent journalist, and Brian Boyd, Irish Times journalist, two massive Bill Hicks fans who would have seen him in '92. And I think Brian Boyd, no, I don't think any of them interviewed him. Brian, I think, definitely met him anyway. But yeah, and Stephen, that was a panel discussion because Stephen's a comedy promoter in Barcelona and he books all the big acts in the world. And so I was delighted to have Steve, Eno Doherty, and Brian Boyd on a panel discussion with A.B. Philip and Bowman, who's Arena on Radio 1. And that was really lively. That was brilliant. And then we had a few comedians like Richie Sheehy, for example, who's now after shooting the Fame with Salah, you know.
Yeah,
so
is he going to be there on Monday?
No, unfortunately. Well, Richie did actually a few months ago. Was he took part? He put his name in for a comedy competition in Galway for to get a slot on the Electric Picnic stage. So after getting 20 million hits, he still had his name in for this competition. So he's going. He won the first round and he's in the final. So he might win. You know, hopefully.
That's brilliant.
But he's going to send. As you see there behind Vanessa, we have we have Gary Lynch, Margot Carr, Harry Smith, and David Mallahan. They're going to be the four main comedians live, and then we have video contributions from Richie, Frankie Gaffney, Derek Clabby from the Bionic Rats, Kieran Butler, who all appeared on Broadsheet actually, and Sophie Prince as well, another fantastic comedian from Australia, who are mad about Bill Hicks. So that's going to be really special, that all these video tributes, you know. And we're going to have a few montages as well about Bill, obviously. And the main one is Steve Hicks, Bill's brother, doing a live Q&A. So if you want to know anything there is to know about Bill that you haven't read or haven't heard, or you want to counteract any of the scrupulous stories that's out there about him and false flags, you can actually ask Steve. And Steve will have a few surprises as well. So doors are 7:30.
He's the one who did those home videos with him.
Sorry, Mark?
I'm sorry.
No, I didn't hear you.
Did he work
didn't him and is that the Steve who did the... Oh, sorry.
No, go on. Sorry. I only half caught you.
Did Stevie work with Bill?
Yeah, he's saying... That's the question.
Is that right, Mark? No, yeah, but Steve is his older brother, so Bill would have passed all his comedy from an early age to his brother.
That came out. Yeah,
they did a home movie together, did they?
I don't know. You might be right there. Like I know, I'm not an aficionado about Bill. I'm just a massive fan, and I really liked his whole philosophy and where he brought the art of comedy. And I was kind of a latecomer to him because I seen Dennis Leary first, unfortunately. But I didn't find out most people on the site. We also have Vanessa Lynn, who's a fantastic woman who upkeeps the main Facebook group, which is the People Who Hate People Party. Come together, no, you know. So that's massive. So she's going to be doing a video tribute as well. But when we listen to Steve is actually the funniest of the Hicks, according to his mother, and so she should know. So Steve is a character in himself, and he was there last year. Very emotional, thankfully. Hi, Olga. How's it going?
Hey, Olga.
And it was just unbelievable. Like the technical side, which is a big headache, you know, wondering will it work on the night, and it worked perfectly. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to do a shout out for a piece of equipment during tomorrow on Facebook, and I'll send on the link as well, John. We're missing a little bit of equipment that we need to make sure that it works smoothly. But the tickets are on sale. grandsocial.ie, and unfortunately they're not selling fast enough to relieve a little bit of pressure and tension that any promoter gets coming up to the week of. But that's, you know, I'm not going to start blaming myself. Just go out and buy
are they on sale on the door, Johnny?
They are, yeah. Vanessa.
Well, I know. I invited a gentleman to come with me on Monday night, and he said he's very busy. He said he's too busy.
Wow. Well,
Who's too busy?
It's not maybe-
A married man, I asked him to come with me on Monday night, and he
Well,
said
that's
he's
you.
too busy.
Did you tell him it was a Bill Hicks tribute? Did I plug that? Did
I
plug
don't know
that
what I
enough
said
now?
to him. Hang on, I'll tell you what I said to him.
So basically, just go out and get this ticket, lads, because we're living in a time now, and I say this with all sincerity, that Bill Hicks has never, ever, ever been more relevant. And the people that are on stage, and I've kind of tailored it or kind of put a team on it this year. Listen, the next revolution will be a revolution of ideas. And they talk about the rural development plan. It's a load of bollocks. You know, they're not talking about new, fresh ideas. We're moving forward the whole time. This is our country now. When you see Leo Varadkar, who's 5 years younger than me, I can't be at it. I can't be listening. Yeah, I kind of had to feel that I was listening to Bertie Ahern and the Kenny respecting the elders and all that. But no, we can't go down that route of neoliberalism and just listen to what Hicks was talking about in relation to gun control. You know, it's just it's everything he said was spot on. He was a tortured genius, and that's just the reality.
Yeah.
And without getting too serious about it, but there's a big philosophy behind Hicks, and anyone who kind of mildly interested in what he has to say, are going, geez, that guy was right. When you think about it, he passed on in 1994, and how liberal we were back then, and we're going backwards the whole time. But when you go into this club on Monday night. And forget about this cold snap that's going to happen apparently over the weekend. It's warm inside. It's a really cool venue. And no, seriously, because people who say, no, it's too cold. It doesn't matter for the sake of 12 viewers. And here's the thing, the main thing. I'm going to finish on this. We could never capitalize on Bill Hicks, because you couldn't capitalize on his good name. And I have a good working relationship and understanding and respect for Steve, who's in charge of Bill's estate. And there's stuff that they've been asked to do, and he goes, no, just Bill wouldn't accept that. And there was a lot of coin on the table. So they've been true to Bill's memory. So in honoring that memory, I have to honor his charity, which is the Bill Hicks Wildlife Foundation, which we raised about €900 for last year. Right. And we have a raffle as well. My mother-in-law, great artist Phil Larkin, did a portrait of him, so we'll be raffling that. And half the door will go to the Bill Hicks Wildlife Foundation again, and the other half will go to a homeless organisation in Dublin that's helping to alleviate the epidemic that is homelessness. And I don't know which one we're going to give it to, but we will give it to one that seems to be really on the ground and making lives, which an awful lot of them are, Focus and Simon. They're doing brilliant work, but we really want to give it to someone who I wanted to put it to a poll, but I don't have enough time.
What about inner city helping homeless, Anthony?
No, absolutely. Like I was up there 2 days ago putting up posters around the place, and around the central bank there was guys giving out coffee, and I had a chat with them, and they're doing great work. It seems, and it's still fairly bad, the amount of homeless people in Dublin. That we just because it's not reported on, it's steadily getting worse, and there's no let up. The only saving grace is that hopefully we're out of the cold snap and we're kind of into some kind of milder weather. But the thing is,
apparently not.
But like spring will have sprung in a few weeks' time.
How do people know if it's going to be too cold on Monday?
Well,
they're saying there's a cold snap promise for the weekend, Vanessa.
Siberian.
Better get me.
An octopus got a feeling.
But just on the homelessness thing there, John, and because I'll just finish it on as I said. John, is that okay?
Please.
Yeah, okay. So, Home Sweet Home in Apollo House, you remember?
Yeah.
And they got a massive backlash there, for a long time since they started doing it, in relation to how much money they had raised and where it was going and all that kind of stuff. So, if you go onto Home Sweet Home's Facebook page, there was an awful lot of charities and organizations that looked for that money. So they dished it out accordingly in relation to what was sent to them. So that's all there, transparent and all that. And Masai, Lucky's organization, were fortunate enough to get some revits off them as well. So, in relation to stuff that's actually happened by these guys, and I met them. They're all volunteers, all honest, decent, hard-working people who see a problem and want to fix it. That's Apollo House. That's Home Sweet Home. They haven't gone away, and they're the kind of organization that I want to kind of highlight with this thing, and leave it up to them maybe to suggest or give me some guidance. But that's where your hard-earned money will be going, and you'll be getting great bang for your buck, as Pat Kenny.
And it's only
€12, and it's a great night's entertainment, which I will vouch for after being there last year. You know, so
are you going to go to this week or this year?
You know that I can't. I'm still kind of in lockdown a little bit, and so I'm not going into crowds until after the third month. So I have these markers, and I'm really these are the kind of, I'm raging that I can't go, because it's a great night and we had a lot of fun last year, but there's still a lot of flu out there, you know. Yeah. So
but Stephen, how can you view houses when you're in the condition you're in?
You know, but it's not so much about that, it's about enclosed spaces, you know. So I don't. There could be a bunch of. You can't be sitting in a kind of enclosed bit next to a couple of dudes. There'll be one of them has a flu. I ran down the train the other day. I was on the train and I left. There was a guy like coughing and sneezing and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just have to be wary of it for a while, you know. And all my bloods are good and everything's good, but people who have come back, you know, they have got the flu. Everybody, all the women that have come back, they're all MS usually hits women around in their early 30s, and they generally have young kids. You know, they're just starting their kind of their families, and they all have young kids, and so the young kids are in schools, and schools are their little germ kind of factories, and they're bringing the flus and bugs home, and so this is. Other people who've come back. So the thing is that you just have to be uber careful until you get past these markers, and you know. So I'm kind of doing what the doctor says. I've never been so obedient in all my life.
Well, you're after paying 60-70 grand, so you might as well do as you're told.
Yeah, my house. Well, I like to see it as it's people say it's like a car loan, but a very expensive car. But yes, it is, because it's a pair of legs, you know.
What's the food like there, Stephen?
What's that?
What's the food like
in Russia?
Well, you're in the hospital. You're in the grounds. Is there a garden? Can you walk around?
I spent 3 or 4 days in Moscow beforehand, and it's horrible what's happening in Syria at the moment, and it's because I'm so positive about Russia, but then Putin and what's happening in Syria I don't even understand why he's got such an involvement in the place. But my love for Moscow, it's an incredible city, and I'd urge you all to go there. It has the most, you're talking about fucking 2040 in Ireland. They have a metro system where a train comes every minute and a half. It's incredible. And I literally one day I dropped a paper on the ground, and it was almost like I had my own tumbleweed moment where I didn't know whether I was going to bend down to or not, but I could feel, here, man, you got to pick up the paper, you know. And so, you know, everything is pristine, clean, and it's so well organized. And this is the kind of communism kind of worked out in a lot of ways, and still they kind of have certain elements of it. Still, they have public transport system. They've got 2040 happened a long time ago across the whole, you know, Eastern Bloc, let's say. So,
Neil, your mic is not up.
I'm here now. Yeah.
Hi, Neil. I was hoping you'd tell us the entertainment for the
entertainment this week. Oh, this is Saoirse's week. The Ladybird is going to flap her wings and all that good stuff. So yeah, Ladybird's out this week. Awards, glory, and it's getting great reviews. And she's achieved more in this short space of time as an actor that she's had on this planet than most other actors in the world. So fair play to her. So lots of people go see that. We also have I, Tonya out. So this one's been brewing for a while. It has Margot Robbie plays Tonya Harding, and she's getting really good reviews as an outstanding performance. Now, I haven't seen it. I'm not familiar with the backstory, but Vanessa has. Legitimately, I hope. Do you want to share your insight on it, Vanessa?
Yeah, well, you see, I was a fan. I used to follow her.
Tanya Harding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I remember very distinctly. She was always treated. 60 Minutes did a feature on her when she was an athlete, and she was kind of referred to as the wrong kid. I remember them using the expression "from the wrong side of the tracks," and I hate that expression. Anyway, no, I was. I was kind of a follower of hers at the time, so I watched the movie. The movie's okay, you know. It's authentic, definitely. It can be a bit gritty. Alison Janney plays her mother, who is a very unlikable character. But it is, anyone who doesn't remember it at the time will enjoy it. But anyone who has no knowledge of the sort of the story and the whole scene of when, you know, she got another go at the Olympics and the crying, and probably won't appreciate it. They might find it really trailer trash and rough. But I liked it. Yeah,
Good,
it's not Birdie as well, by the
good
way.
ice skating scenes.
Yeah, there is.
Right.
Okay, you're not going to see the stuff you saw at the Olympics, but
they're the films that are out this week. But there's a couple other things happening in the movie world. So they announced that pre-production has begun on the sequel to It, the more recent sequel to It, and Jessica Chastain is in the running to take on the role of Beverly. That's that film. The recent. It did pretty well. It was pretty loyal to the book as well, up until but excluded the weird orgy scene that Stephen King had written in amongst the kids, but that thankfully was left out. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because if those of you who remember the TV movie, and well, it was 3 parts, but they played the whole story of the kids and then the adult one, and it had its moments, but generally it was the section with the kids that, you know, was the most enjoyable from that perspective. So it would be interesting to see what they do with the adult view on it. There's a couple of trailers being dropping for a film called Ready Player One. It's one of these Steven Spielberg joints, and it's based on a book which I haven't read, but the trailer is getting all the geek world, all the nerd world very excited, because the premise is dystopian future. You'd love this, John. Dystopian future. Europe has won. We're ruled by this international army, and the only solace for people is this virtual reality game where you become your avatar, you become hot and sexy. But there's a lot of retro stuff being thrown in. The kid in it drives the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and the likes of Freddy and Jason and the Iron Giant all have cameos or parts in it. So for the fanboys or for the geeks, I guess there's something there, as well as appealing for the newer generations, the younger generations who've read this book, probably doing something that Disney haven't been able to capture with since they've taken over Star Wars. So I'm a bit excited about seeing what that'll all be about. And
that's in cinemas, Neil, is it?
No. That's going to be one of the summer blockbusters.
You know the way you keep mentioning Disney and Star Wars, because I know Disney bought the franchise, but I was in Orlando when they opened the Star Wars exhibit or area, and I was wondering, had you been to it yet?
No, but I do have a friend who goes to it every year. She lives in the States. She's a big Star Wars fan, and she raves about it. But I've seen the concept artwork for Star Wars Land, where you'll stay in the hotel of the Millennium Falcon. It'll be nice to do.
Yeah.
We got to do a bit of that, don't we, down in Skelligs? We got to get it.
I can see it now. I can see totally Disney building a road out to the Skelligs, and
it's going to happen. And no more movies. There's another one.
And if some of you, the Pixar fans out there, there's a trailer or a preview trailer for The Incredibles 2 has dropped. So this was a bit of well, I was going to say sleeper hit, but it was very popular. It's about a family that were all superheroes. It was one of those computer animated ones.
Big time gap between 1 and 2, isn't there?
Yeah, which is surprising given how popular the original was. But I would say that one will probably be big in cinemas when it comes out.
And voices are brilliant in it. Holly Hunter is Mrs. Incredible.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Neil, has Ladybird got a wide release in Ireland, or is it just selected cinemas?
Has which?
Ladybird, the Saoirse Ronan film.
Again, that's getting a nationwide release. Sure, that's
Gotta
our
have it.
Saoirse. We all have to go after Mass. We'll all go.
I've already seen it, lads.
Yeah, Vanessa, you liked
Legitimately.
it? Did you?
I did. It's charming. It's a nice movie.
Is it Oscar worthy for Saoirse? Do you think?
I don't think it is. She deserves to be nominated, all right, but I think it's Frances. To be honest, Frances is that how we say Frances?
Frances McDormand.
Frances McDormand. Yeah. I think
Best
so.
performance ever, I think.
But you know, like she's been nominated a few times, so she's definitely of a standard required to that. You know, I mean, I imagine so. I mean, how many times has Myrtle been nominated before she won anything? You know, and Al Pacino's been nominated loads of times and only won one. Isn't that what Gay Byrne used to call Myrtle? Meryl Streep.
I didn't know that. No.
Saoirse Ronan there and the guy, septic guy that you're talking about.
Jack Septic guy.
Like, it actually is embarrassing, the two of them, and they're very, very prominent. Like what Saoirse Ronan did with that Aer Lingus ad or video, comedy sketch on Saturday Night Live was nothing less than pathetic. You know, because she came from Ireland, she should not have done that. And this guy, Septic Guy, how he's so popular, right? He says Paddy Whackery. The Irish accent, no, I swear to God, man, check it out.
I have watched it. I have watched
the little leprechaun thing. And if you go outside of the Guinness Hobbs storehouse, the Leprechaun Museum is the biggest tourist attraction in Ireland. So that is a massive market. And Saoirse Ronan and Septic Jack and Leo Varadkar, they're all on that Paddy Whackery. Like,
That's what we should do.
In less than 2 weeks' time, Leo Varadkar is going to have to give a bowl of shamrocks to Trump. Watch that. That is just going to be comedy gold, man. And watch the Paddy Whackery being laid down and the Yanks lap it up. So in relation to Mark and his show, I'm really looking forward to it. And it seems to be, from what he was talking about, void of Paddy Whackery. So along the lines of an Irish South Park is what we kind of need. Shameless, whatever. But I like what he's talking about, and I wish him the best of luck. And the less Paddy Whackery,
I'm going to defend the Paddy Whackery.
It's indefensible, Neil. It's indefensible.
Well, from an aesthetic perspective, it is, but the guy is worth 2.4 million.
So you know what, as well, lads. If we were all put on a couch somewhere in America, we'd end up taking the piss ourselves. If we were put into a pub in Boston, you know, watching them all doing the rebel songs and.
Well, I mean, remember Jack said the guy is playing video games,
and we would do the exact same thing. I'm pretty sure, but we would send it up ourselves. I'm sure of it.
Olga, welcome, Olga. Olga,
a bit of normality.
Yeah, Olga, can you hear us?
Here's Olga.
Olga? No. I can't hear you.
On mute. I tell you, the tech gremlins are out tonight.
Yes, for sure.
It's a nightmare.
Something strange going on.
It's a nightmare. Yeah, so Ends Meet, it's on the RT player. It's very
can't wait to see it. It sounds great.
Yeah. He sent me like all the episodes, so I know the end.
I might but there's what's it? A full series?
There's 10 episodes.
10
There's
episodes.
10 or 9 or 10 episodes. I watched the first one.
Wow.
Yeah, and
I actually think the kind of colloquial accents and stuff like that can really work. And there's nothing to say that the like regional accents travel everywhere. And it's like you said, you know, Only Fools and Horses. Everybody gets a Cockney accent, or they get what's being implied. And once it's got context, then people grow into something like an animated kind of working class family, or a benefit class family.
Well, I'm really surprised RT bought it, because it is really excellent.
Yeah. I don't know. RT do occasionally hit them.
Well, we did that. We did give them a hard time with their annual accounts, so maybe they were watching.
Wow.
They don't always. They have occasionally, stumbled across gems like that. I remember they used to show "Give Up Your Old Sins" and
Yeah, and it's a good length. Was it 12 or 15 minutes? So it's not too long. It's not too big a risk for them, but it's enough to be substantial in between the ads.
Yeah.
I think it's a great length.
I think it's huge. Olga, can you hear us now? We can.
Do you know what, John? I think the rupture is real. We are all being hit with.
We've literally been.
Yeah.
Well, Olga's just been from a shift, so she's.
She lost her voice. That's what the shift did to her.
Yeah, she must have caught something.
Yeah, she was using her mouth too much during the shift.
Can you?
That's shocking. She can't defend herself, then.
Yeah. This is.
So, Stephen.
I'll go sign language.
Johnny, can I say something about your posters?
Please. Martin Leahy, or Leahy, fantastic graphic designer.
Yeah, but the address, that's where the address is. It's very hard to see it.
Okay.
Just that little corner there.
The Grand Social.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I suppose if you say so. But
no, I'm just saying, I couldn't find where it was.
Yeah. No. The thing is, Vanessa, with all the information, it's hard. But yeah.
I think it's a good poster, man.
No, it's a lovely poster.
Yeah.
When the blind L ones like me, we can't see it. You see,
no,
you have to
I take your point.
Print. You have to have the big print books.
We have. A2 posters, which I'll be going around in Dublin on Monday afternoon around O'Connell Street and Grafton Street, sandwich board style. So if you're around Dublin.
No, well, I was going to ask you, if I knew you were in Dublin, I'd ask you to do some painting and decorating my new office on Monday.
Okay, yeah. Well, no, Tuesday. Oh, no, Wednesday.
No, the carpet is arriving on Tuesday, so it needs to be done on Monday.
Neil,
I'll bring my staple gun.
Neil, we've lost Olga briefly because the sound issues. Are the sound issues our problem, or is it?
I'm telling you, John, the rupture.
And there's something
real.
up. There's something on my. They crashed my computer and everything.
And mine. I tell you, Bodger was right.
Yeah, I know.
Is there a countdown clock going somewhere?
This is the year that Bodger has proved right about everything. It's been a long time.
Does he have a clock?
Huh?
Is there a countdown clock, a doomsday clock?
Well,
yeah, do you remember? It used to be remember the millennium was coming, and there was a countdown clock at O'Connell Bridge.
The time is slime.
I know the lads that built that. They're the same guys that designed or created Tivoli flooring. Remember in Chicago's, John?
I don't know. Chicago's before my time, but the Chicago's.
Love stories. That's where love stories began. Don't you remember?
I don't. Neil?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Just wondering if you could put up the.
I can't. If you fire over control access to me because it went when I crashed out, and I'll give you the news.
If you can just go, and we'll get.
I'll do it. I'll put on my best Olga and.
What's the news?
It's not. Oh, hang on. Get me. It's not allowing me to let you share.
Oh wait, no, I have it now. You've given it to me.
I think you should be sharing anyway. So we've lost Dan as well. Dan Boyle was with us earlier on, from Cork. If you were looking for a good read over the Easter, Making Up the Numbers is a brilliant read. Actually, I thought it was fantastic.
Very good.
And okay, so Neil, you have the papers up.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Times Ireland edition. EU plan to avoid hard border risks riling DUP. What would the newspapers do without Brexit?
Constant.
That's true. What would they do?
The gift that keeps on giving.
Neil, that's a fantastic picture of an owl there.
Yes.
My favorite
I don't think
Neil
Neil took it.
Do you know what I thought immediately? I thought of I've been listening to Blind Boy podcast lately, And he has one of his gospel according to Blind Boy short stories, which is a cracking. It's called Malaga. I don't know if anybody knows it.
No.
I think it's about the 5th or 6th podcast. It's worth checking out. It's just he released it on Christmas Day, and it's just a story about Malaga. And I don't want to
The holiday spot.
Yeah, but there's a very obscure reason why it ends up, and that picture of that owl just completely put that short story into my head. So check it out.
It's an amazing picture. Neil, can you share with us?
It's beautiful, eh?
Stunning. And Harris' 12-week abortion law is the only way to protect rape victims. And Oxfam is banned from Haiti over sex scandal.
Finally.
Hi.
I'll go. You're there. Hello.
How's it going?
Perfect.
How are you doing? Turning it off and on again obviously works. So thank you, John.
I'm just going to go to the bathroom then, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm a the gum dulgadi and there's.
Moshe the whole buigas idea.
Hi, John.
There's your man. The farmers are having to give your man 1.9 million.
That's mad, eh? I see.
But isn't that the figure, Vanessa? Isn't that the figure that was kind of revealed 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever this first broke?
Yeah, but I wonder what else he got, because there was 4 days set aside for the slander / defamation. I mean, they did like the lads lost a bit of control when it all. He did work for them for a long time as well. So
he did, yeah.
I think they got off lightly.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of money, though.
A lot of money, yeah.
Do you remember back when it came out? I think there was an interview with somebody from the IFA, but it appeared that nobody really knew how that deal came about. You know. Well,
it's probably a bit like the guy that was running the IMO. His sort of salary crept up accidentally. Almost, he'd agreed like a 10% every year, and it kind of went to like 140 grand, and then suddenly 140 grand became 180 grand, and then it kept going up. Or I think he was pitched against somebody else, and when they got a huge lump sum, your man got it as well. And it's a bit like Roddy Malloy had a huge income as well for an organisation that doesn't make money.
Yeah,
it doesn't really, or it doesn't create it. It's not developing a new algorithm or a new.
But that's the thing, like
cancer or stuff like that. Or
that's the thing. The Irish Farmers Association, like it's effectively a lobby company, a lobby group, right? No.
Yeah, but I would say it's a profitable organisation as well. You know, with farming advice and the various investments they have. But it is a lobby group. But sure, so is the IMO. They're a lobby group. So is the Irish Nurses. They're a lobby group. And those lads aren't on minimum wage.
The average farmer's wage, though, would be pretty low. Eh? It's like they have a recognised wage, which is about what's it a year, 30 or 60 grand a year. 60.
And for them to be paying that guy,
this amount of money was criminal in the first place.
Obviously, the few farmers at the top table that were able to make decisions were on the big money anyway, or there was gigs going and they were getting looked at. I don't want to say too much. But yeah, the man did work for them for a long time, and he represented them very well for a long time, and then he was defamed, obviously. Otherwise, they wouldn't have set aside the 4 days in the court to hear it. So I think they might have got off lightly with 1.9 million.
Thanks, Vanessa. Neil, just on the field hospital needed to treat drunk teenagers.
Oh yeah, sorry to interrupt. I had a brief read of it, and I think it was in Bandon. So basically, there was this disco, like that's supposed to be a booze-free disco by all accounts, and everyone, like a lot of kids, just turned up. But it was quite scary. I think 3 were taken unconscious to hospital, but somebody who was mentioned in that piece by Own English said that it was like a Roman vomitorium. Is how we described it. Which is pretty gross. But
can't hold their liquor.
Okay, but so there was just.
That's a good idea, though. The idea that they would be like an ambulance going around or you know,
Field
various sort of the clubs where younger people would go, and you know, make sure they're not, you know, going
I think
stocious.
yeah.
Like, should I go?
What's the tagline again?
Where love stories began.
Oh, how about that?
Neil, are there any more Irish papers there?
There's no more Irish papers.
Okay.
Just those two.
Well, you saw the Times, yeah.
Anything in the Guardian?
Brexit.
Inappropriate behaviour by the charity chief. Yada yada yada. Fashion. Doctor Who. The NRA is in the Independent. Guns.
It's the migrants. I know there wasn't a tribunal this week, but the Brendan Kennelly's appeal against the severity of the sentence.
Yeah, Bill Keneally is the basketball coach, sports coach down in Waterford, who he was jailed. He was jailed in 2016, I think, wasn't it? For 14 years for abusing. It was based on abusing 10 kids. I think he had been originally charged with 70 counts. Anyway, he was jailed for 14 years, but he appealed it. But anyway, the Court of Appeal upheld the sentence today, so that was announced today. But the other day, two people who had been abused by him, Colin Power and Jason Clancy, held a press conference in Buswell's Hotel, which is very last minute, with a Fianna Fáil, Kieran Hartley.
Yep.
Is that correct? And so, if you remember Fianna Fáil, and so they just held this press conference, and they basically said several things, but one of them was that they now are of the understanding that the Gardaí in Waterford would have known about Bill Keneally's abuse going back as far as 1979. So, I suppose I should have said, sorry, that five of the 10 victims in relation to those charges that he was jailed for in 2016, they've waived their anonymity. But they've also claimed that they really want to commission an investigation, because they claim that there was members of the Southeastern Health Board at the time, Gardaí, certain businessmen, and Fianna Fáil involved in covering this up, because Bill Keneally has a cousin who was a former minister, and a former TD with Fianna Fáil, and apparently he was told of this abuse in 2002 and did nothing. So, and
Kieran Hartley is Fianna Fáil TD, right? And
there's cancer, I think.
I remember anyway. But he has called on at the press conference. Sorry, he called for the immediate suspension of Brendan Keneally, the cousin. So for him to be kicked out of the party, and he also called for Micheál Martin to outline exactly when he heard about the abuse, how he was told about it, who told him about it, and when that happened, because it seems like they're uncovering more details as to the knowledge of the abuse. So they said that. So they're saying that, I think, just so that I could make sure. So he said that they basically said that it's been confirmed that in 1979, a young boy was brought into the Garda station and was actually questioned about what he knew about Bill Keneally. And then in the mid-1980s, one of his victims, he claims that he himself was warned by two Gardaí to stay away from Bill Keneally because he was a paedophile. And they also said that in 1987, two victims who were actually getting counselling from the Southeastern Health Board, while they were getting that counselling, Keneally was abusing Colin Power and Jason Clancy. And then, but also on top of that, they also claimed that in July 1987, a boy was murdered in Waterford. And what they said was that they have confirmation that Bill Keneally was brought in for questioning in relation to that in July 1987. But they said, but they've pointed out that Primetime did a show on this. I think Damien, I can't remember his name. Sorry, but Primetime did a show on this in 2016, and it had an interview with the guard, or with the chief superintendent, Sean Cashman. He's retired now, but essentially in an interview with him in relation to Bill Keneally, Cashman, retired Chief Superintendent Cashman, said that the first time he came across Bill Keneally was in November 1987. But he was the person who headed up that murder investigation, which was 5 months previous, which is when, you know, questions were asked about Keneally. So this is just adding to their call for a commission of inquiry. But the Minister for Justice, Charlie Flanagan, is saying that they can't have a commission of inquiry while there are criminal proceedings taking place, and so that's what's been said. But like the solicitors for the 5 men who've come forward has said, Darren Mackin, he has already said that they don't understand that argument. They think that they can both run parallel to each other. There's no reason for them not to. That's what they're saying. So,
I think it's a part of the Fianna Fáil Fine Gael agreement.
Yeah,
it doesn't go any further. But did I read or hear I might have heard this down the court. Is there another 99 charges to be laid against?
Yeah, he was charged.
Yeah. But I think, sorry, John, but I think the fact that the sentence was upheld, it might encourage more and more victims now to come forward, not just Keneally's, but others, that people are taking complaints more seriously now. There's nowhere to hide, no matter how many years ago. Yeah. And just 1979 was Jack Lynch was still leader of Fianna Fáil.
Yeah, I think up and down the country, you know, people are going into Garda stations and you know, telling them about paedophiles in the community.
And where there's one, there's more. So I think that murder case might be something to take a closer look at.
Well, I remember a few years ago we did a piece on possible paedophile ring in Donegal and up and down there in various parts of the country. And the amount of people who would come on and say this conspiracy theory, this is rubbish, this is, you know, fantasy. But there seems to be, particularly in the swimming world, for instance, absolutely, completely dominated by pedophilia over the years. American Swimming Association, the entire board have resigned this week. The Irish Swimming Board, or the Swim Ireland, they should have all resigned anyway, but of course they don't.
They weren't Swim Ireland then, they were the IASA back then. But you know, the Dungarvan is less than an hour's drive from Cork City. And then it would also be less than an hour from Kilkenny City, really. Now, maybe 30 years ago it was a bit of a longer drive. But, you know, the hairpin bends and the roads.
Lower.
There was a story there from one of those guys.
I don't want to sort of make suggestions, but it does smack like there's more than one in that area. Bill Keneally was hardly the lone paedophile.
No.
And if whoever was covering up for him covered up for his circle.
Of course, yeah. Johnny?
Yeah, well, you know, there was just a terrible story. I don't know what, and I looked at the video they did, a Facebook video there a few weeks ago, and we kind of touched on it. But just further from what Olga was saying, it was one of the guys that was brought up to Kilkenny for a tennis competition with Keneally, and he had won the competition. And before he got time to leave the court, Keneally says, "Come on, you're coming with me." And this is his story, as he told it. And he brought him out to a wooded area around Kilkenny, and tied his hands around a tree and raped him, and then brought him back into the competition. And the woman who was presenting the trophy to him said, "You didn't even have the decency to wait around and accept the trophy." You know, so, you know, that's just bringing it on from what Vanessa was saying. Like, if it's happening in Dungarvan, and this is the thing about paedophilia in Ireland, because that's the only way we can really deal with as a serious situation. It's prominent. It's an epidemic. It's serious. It needs to be kind of understood. Then, he's a sick pedo. You know, I'll keep away from him. You know, but it's really, really serious. And Micheál Martin, to do the decent thing and accepted in his party, because it's not all alone in Waterford. There's a situation up in Donegal as well. Mary Boyle,
which has Fianna Fáil.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not going to go away. RT will ignore it, but in actual fact, people that are grassroots Fianna Fáil, decent, honest people, they need to actually look in relation to what Micheál Martin is going to do about these two big, massive cases. They're massive.
They are. Well, I think science has proved that paedophiles cluster together in areas, and also I actually think this is what will trigger in a leadership election in Fianna Fáil, because I don't think Micheál Martin would survive this one, especially as he actually took a meeting with at Paul Williams' request to meet claimant. I think those will marry together and trigger it, because Fianna Fáil, as Dan was saying earlier on about the numbers of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, that where one will lose, the other will win between them. But Fianna Fáil need to win in Dublin. They are nowhere in Dublin, so they need to win in Dublin. And this is what the more ambitious, hungrier members of Fianna Fáil, who haven't had ministries yet under their arse.
Well, it's a pity we don't have Derek Mooney on, so you could interrupt him and tell him that.
But see, here's the thing: I don't interrupt him; he interrupts everybody.
No. Well, I was just felt, he's the guest, like.
Yeah, you're the mammy.
Come on again. Derek Mooney should come on again. Like loads of Fianna Fáil, loads of Fine Gael, loads of Sinn Féin. They should be coming on here.
Yeah, no, we hopefully will get them on, and I don't know what the hell was with me. I mean, I like Derek's practice and analysis. I think it's kind of even-handed, so I wanted to hear that, and then he drifted into all those sort of areas. Anyway, it's midnight. Thank you so much for joining us, Johnny Keenan in Kilkenny, and Bill Hicks.
Yeah.
Nice.
See you on Monday, guys.
See you Monday night at the Grand Social.
Who produced? Bring me hot water bottle.
Oh yeah, because the cold. But
I don't even know if it's cold or not.
No,
check the weather.
It's a lovely married man.
Brilliant.
He's after standing me up. He said, "No, he's too busy. He's doing his ironing that night." He said.
He's very peculiar, is Neil. But as my producer, brilliantly produced tonight, Neil. Fantastic.
Flawlessly.
Under pressure.
I'm typing up my email to the Internet Federation of Ireland.
Thank you. And I'll go. Thank you. The tribunal begins again on the 5th of March.
Yes. Not in March. Can I? His evidence.
Olga, any truth to the rumor you're writing a book about the whole thing?
The truth? No, there's no truth to that.
That's not what I heard now.
Sorry, a book about what, Olga?
No, there's no book.
The Insider's Guide to All Things Tribunal.
Stephen Garland, sir, a pleasure to see you again after Russia, and you really do look very, very strong.
Yeah, it's funny, and I feel good, so I'm very, very happy. And so there's not much more than that from me. I'm raging that I will miss Johnny's gig tomorrow night or Monday night or whenever it is, and Monday night. And but anyway, I'm kind of very much focused, and there's 4 good Irish people out there at the moment. Fui skiing, but there's no skiing involved. And
they're still there, are they?
Yeah, they're there right now, and so
getting treatment. God.
Yeah, and
look at your flat hunting, Steve.
Yeah, that's every day. That's.
But what's wrong with looking in Offaly there? According to Johnny, it's the centre of the universe.
Not yet, Vanessa. Give us 20 years. Wait till 2040, will you?
2040. Did Offaly get a mention in 20?
Or if they start growing weed, it'll be 420. So be quick enough.
Stephen Garland and Vanessa Foran, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
A big thank you to Mike Baldwin, whose Ends Meet cartoon is on Monday nights at 11:30.
Great name.
Huh?
Great name.
Yeah. Ends Meet.
Can't wait to see it, then.
And also a big thank you to Dan Boyle, who joined us earlier, and we just lost him. That's the Wi-Fi connection in Ireland. That's broadband.
It was everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll hopefully see you on the site tomorrow or here next week. Okay. Goodbye now.
You, John.
Very good.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.